everybody. We are back in town, playing around with BLADE-2. Okay, here we go. So today I have the idea to show a little bit about BLADE-2 and the concept behind it. Okay, let me see if we can shut down the music in the background. Here we have BLADE-2, and I just was playing with one preset, which is an R preset. And just by changing, it uses the Harmolator. So BLADE-2 has not the traditional oscillators from its base. So down here you can see the traditional oscillators. You can select them and put them on or off. It has an additional noise generator. But essentially BLADE-2 is based on the original Blade, and the original Blade had only the Harmolator. So we increased the features a lot. And my idea is to make it a little bit understandable in this live stream about BLADE-2. Of course, we recently released BLADE-2 having also VST3 support. And of course, we did a lot of live stream about our recently released products like Recorder, Predator 3, and the Dalsane. And yeah, maybe I should explain a bit more about BLADE-2, because BLADE-2 is essentially a very unique instrument. It's, from the base, it really had something different from any other synthesizer. So if you have a default preset, it sounds pretty ugly because you hear essentially very ugly saw waveform. You can see it up here. And this is a default preset. So the first idea for Blade was to have a Harmolator. What means the Harmolator? The Harmolator means that you change the harmonic content of the oscillator. So by changing the range, how much harmonics you would have. So this one has a lot of harmonics. Okay. And then you can see it up here, the waveform. You see it's really a saw waveform with these harmonics built up. And then you can choose to go balance between the odd and even harmonics. So if I go, there's only even harmonics, and these are only odd harmonics. And if you listen carefully, this odd harmonics, then you have a square waveform. Because if you take a saw wave and you do away the even harmonics, you get a square. It's a bit hard to see here. No, but you get really a square. So that's the basic concept of Blade in this thing, is that you can move this around to go with the odd and even harmonics of this waveform. So now it's pretty basic. So I really have a pretty ugly saw waveform, and I can change the odd even. So the other thing is the outside the range, you have the bass, which is the bass harmonic. Okay, let's show that again here. And I can change the bass harmonic go up. Then you see here, this in the middle, then you got this in the middle is more the dynamic or the prominent bass. So all the harmonics are below it are lower in volume. So instead of a saw waveform, you have then, if I open the bass, you have more that you add a bandpass filter, which filters off the low harmonics. So it sounds a little bit like a bandpass high-pass filter. Very ugly, but that's what you use. Is with the Harmolator. Then there is, of course, also the option to start modulating this waveform. And for this, you can use the ripple, which is down here. And you see already a ripple exists here. So essentially, the ripple modulates. You see these ripples up here. This is the ripple, and you can have a different waveforms. Triangle, saw. Still not very exciting as a finished sound, but that's how things work. So this is the ripple. Then there is, so the ripple width, I can shut it down. So you have all kind of ripple wave type waveforms. From logarithmic. Okay, so now I shut it down again. So we have normal waveform again. You see the range is the range of harmonics and their volume. Also a bit like a low pass filter. And then you have the frequency shift. Okay, I open this. Oh, it's not really. And you shift the harmonics. You see up there, you see it shifting. Still a very ugly sound, but these are things which then dynamically can use changed by the XY. Apart from that, we also have timbres. Timbres are essentially waveforms which are preset. You can see up here all kind of, okay, even user waves are possible. So here you can see the and you mix between this basic waveform, which is done here, and this timbre. So these things you can dynamic change by using the XY. You see here, I can use here and start everything open here and just and of course now it's the hard thing is to find a good sound, which is not easy with BLADE-2 because you now influence and you also can see the okay, is it active? This parameter change. Turn down modulation. So now it's on. Okay. No, it's off. Okay, so that's a confusing thing. Yeah, that's something we still need to fix in this BLADE-2. The description is a bit harder to understand. We changed that in Predator 3, and we need to update that also for BLADE-2 because, yeah, down modulation turn, down modulation off. It's a bit unclear to me. So I don't see the parameters change here, but I should, because if I use here, give me 1 second, matrix, modulation source, the mod source, X position, to filter. Okay, I need to check this out. Might spotted a little bug, which is not a big bug, but let's see what happens here. Well, I do something wrong here. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing something wrong here. Most likely, I'll be overlooking something. Oh, now it goes on. Okay, yeah, that was me. Oh, that's strange. Now it starts working, so it's active. So now I need to remove it in the mod matrix again. So now you see that the XY, you see in the left here, you see all the dials change. So that is what it's changing. Well, before you have then a good sound, you are editing, and it's a little bit of trial and error. I think it's always a... So if I go back to a finished sound, you see that it's totally different. And that's what we did with Blade 2. We added a normal oscillator, which you can put on off. And here you can see the XY. If I go to the normal live mode, that's down here. You can see it changes the harm volume, and this is on the direction X. And in the up and down, it doesn't do anything. So it's only essentially on the X and Y. Well, there's a... Yeah, and this, of course, this is at itself also good sound, but by adding the oscillator, what we did in Blade 2 compared to the original Blade, you have far more synthesizer synthesis features. So Blade is definitely not an easy synthesizer to program, but so when I go back now again to this default preset from the blank bank, totally ugly, this sound. So this is the Harmolator. So these parameters, you control them with the XY and changes them dynamically. All the parameters you can see here. And it's a matter of trial and error, and then, yeah, stop at the right moment. So one example would be, for instance, this sound. Let me see where it is again. Now I shut off the oscillator, and you only hear the Harmolator. So the oscillator really adds body to. So that's the reason why we added the oscillator and the noise, so that you have far more freedom. So the Harmolator, that's essentially the thing from Blade 1. And now going back again to the... and the other mode we have for this section here in the Harmolator is to have the additive mode. And you hear? Here you can draw your own waveform. And you can use a range of waveforms, 4 waveforms, which are then controlled by the XY. Then you see the letters A, B, C, and D appearing. So if I have it off, set A, there's only A, and then you can change For instance, not the bass anymore, because these are essentially from the Harmolator mode. So now I'm in the additive mode. So now I can say set AD morphing. And then, of course, I need to pick each a different waveform. So A would be this, B, I draw this, C, I draw this, and D, I draw this. So A, B, C, D. And then I can morph between these four. Now, the of course, this is a different mode. So here you draw your waveform. You can also use user waveforms. So here we have also then presets which you can use, but also user wave. So now I use a user wave, and I go to the user wave section, which is here. WAV stands for Wave Analyze. And yeah, here you can load in a sample and analyze it. But it's not resynthesis in the classic way. So let me see if I load in a sample somewhere. Let me see, I have something. Yeah, I need to pick a sample somewhere. Okay. Now I can listen to this sample, but it's the preview. Okay, I don't hear it. Essentially, it's a whole sample, but I want to take only one cycle of it. Extract. Okay. I can change here the position. Okay, start position. Okay, let's go. So this is a real sample what you hear, but this is a very complex thing to do. Yeah, and then you need to pick a note. Okay, zoom in. Still not okay. Yeah, now you created a waveform. So now it's A is this user wave. Sounds more like a SH101. So this is a very long sample, but so it really takes one phrase. It's not resynthesis in the way, for instance, the older Chameleon does, or in Logic it's called another, it's the same program, but it's called in a different name. So that's not the concept of BLADE-2. So it can pick the harmonic content, what you see here. So it takes a little part, and then you have a waveform. So it really depends on the type of organic sound you have, how it will sound. So we created a few already timbres. If I'll check here, we made quite some timbres. But for instance, this one is a vocal, and then also again a very short. Okay. Oh no, I'm wrong here with my XY. I need to go to A. You can hear it's more U. So there was a vocal, and just like this long sample, and from this this long vocal, you pick one part, and then you got the harmonic content. So it's not resynthesis in in the classic way. This is more that you make one wave of it. But of course, if once you have that, you can experiment and use the XY to go from A to B to C to D. And you see there are different modes. Morph or mix mode. Mix mode means that it mixes between the 4 waves. And in morph, it really does morph between the harmonics. Okay, I can show it here, dynamic. So additive in this one is really additive, so it's no resynthesis. And this wave generation, it's inside, but it's for the really diehards to dive into this and create stuff. It's really far more complex. So once you use additive, the Harmolator is not active anymore. So in the presets, you will find then, let me see. Now this one uses the Harmolator. I need to, this one uses additive. And you see the oscillator is active here again. I can shut it off. So now it uses the additive. And if I go to the XY, it has one movement. And then combine with the oscillator. Okay, let's see in the chat room. Everybody, welcome. Is it possible to extract guitar sound and play this sound? Yeah, well, the point is you maybe take a very small fraction of it, but that makes it, again, a very static waveform. So it's just what I played in the, let's see, in this default preset. If you would then do this in BLADE-2, then you would get the same result and then have like the vocal that would sound very static as a regular waveform. So you can hear the ah, but it's really a, yeah, it's what it does. It analyzes the harmonic content of the sample and creates a waveform from it, but it's static. So if you would do the same, then you would get a very static part of this guitar. So for electric guitar, you really need then resynthesis, which really does this, but then over time, like the Chameleon did in the past. So it's a different type of synthesis. So with Blade, we have the Harmolator, which came from BLADE-1, the additive, where you can combine 4 waveforms. Now it's set to A, you see, in different modes. And in the XY, you see then appearing here. Then there is additional the oscillator we added, and a noise oscillator, which is very cool because the noise oscillator really gives some additional juice to the BLADE-2. So the sound options really exploded. Still, BLADE-2 is of course not an easy synth from the start, from making something from the scratch. So for instance, this one uses oscillator and noise. So it's Blade 50 synths. It's of course a little bit So now if I shut down the oscillator and the harmolator, it's a tuned noise. By the way, if you see something fade out, it means that it is currently not used in this preset. So the, let's see here. If I go to the noise, you see, oh, this one is now active. But if I shut down the noise, you see the LEDs keep on being active. Maybe we should change that. If you put it off, that also the LED rings are gone and the buttons are gone. But that makes, so if you go to the oscillator again, select oscillator. So yeah, and this one, so the classic oscillator noise together with the Harmolator, which was the BLADE-1. So essentially it's so this makes really different type of sounds possible. Now what is this arpeggiator? But also the XY keeps on running and changes then dynamically. You see here all these parameters. So yeah, then it's if you start from scratch, it's not easy. On the other hand, if you are a user and you have BLADE-2, you can also go to the easy, change this, change the groups, and see what happens. And if you have a great sound, then you simply save the preset with your own name. So the easy page is really cool. So I have this circle to timbre pad. So BLADE-2, I think for most users, it's more a machine what you use to enjoy the different presets. I think not many will dive into it in terms of deep editing. So I mean, there's so many great presets already on board, and you go to the easy page and there you change a little bit, and you very often run into very interesting variations on the sound. Nothing happening there. Yeah, so many cool things. So it's BLADE-2 is a little bit like Bluetooth. It's a very deep synthesizer. It's really for the geeks in terms of sound editing. But as a user, if you're not deep into it, simply enjoy the presets and use the easy page and to play around. I mean, I also very often I start with a preset. Sometimes it doesn't run into anything. And it's more that you need to stop on time if you think, oh, this is cool. And then you need to save the preset, because if you change one little thing in BLADE-2, sometimes the sound is gone again. So many cool stuff. Let's see what the chat room has to say. Sometimes you have clicks and plops due to my old computer. Well, it doesn't have to do with the polyphonic on the synth. That doesn't change it too much. Sometimes people have plops, and that's a whole different reason. If you go to the back panel, you can see there's a MIDI channel. This one is Omni, but sometimes people have multiple MIDI that comes into a synthesizer, and then you get, of course, a lot of clips, because then you get two MIDI channels. So if you, on this, you could set to MIDI channel 1, for instance, sounds will play, but we had the case in support that somebody had more keyboards, and for some reason it did send out to all MIDI channels, and then of course you got these huge CPU spikes. So if you, there's always something you can check. Default is Omni, then anywhere it gets the MIDI. So if I would have this keyboard now, which you see on the live stream, but if I would play that on another keyboard, everything would come into Blade. So that's something you can check. And that's on the back panel. If you click on the logo, you get the back panel. Yeah, what you can do if the computer is not so fast, if you sometimes presets, if you go to the play mode, which is here, is that the oops, excuse me. Sometimes some people use chord or use unison, and unison is in the Harmolator itself. It's not inside the play mode, but on the other side synthesizer, you could shut off the unison, because unison eats far more CPU than, for instance, reducing the polyphonic of one particular plugin. Especially if you have Predator 3, some sound designers are very, how you say that, very active in, so here in the play mode, you see there's nothing. Unison mode, they can go down in unison mode. That's what you could do, for instance, in BLADE-2 for reducing the CPU, because sometimes it's not needed. Some presets benefit from it, but I personally am very not always use it. For instance, if I go to this sound, to lead, which is that one, you see here is unison 3, but if I go to normal off, still okay. I mean, it's originally. Oh, okay, it did not update. Ha. It was without. No, it has unison 3. Okay, I'm messing here. Sorry, I was doing in the wrong menu. Without it. Unison 3. So the difference is sometimes not that much. It's not always needed, because unison, what it does, it creates double amount of notes play. Essentially, on the oscillator side, we have the unison. These are the more modern ones, which means that the oscillators multiply in terms of. So unison 3 means that if you use 3 oscillators, the first of 3 is that 9 oscillators are playing. The classic mode is essentially the mode which came over from the analog synthesizer. If you hit one note, essentially you hit 2 classic, 3, 4, or 5, or 6 notes. So that eats a lot of CPU, of course. Okay. So with BLADE-2, it's a complicated synthesizer, but it has many great presets, and of course it has the star system. If you like something, give it a star. And if you say, okay, this is getting close, I can use Easy Page and play around a little bit. see, then you have suddenly a great sound. And the easy page is also stored inside the preset. So if you change this with the global X amount and global Y amount change, or the speed, it memorizes it. So yeah, this is a nice one. I should save this one because did I click to the original? The original was the difference is not that much. Yeah, and then people talk about you know, it's yeah, looking for new stuff, and sometimes you need to have a more complex synthesizer to get new sounds. And Blade 2 is definitely a machine that generates sounds which are totally fresh and new. So that's what you can do, and if you like a sound, you give it in the manager a star. I have created a video about the bank manager, I think for Blade 2 as well. And otherwise, you always can check the Predator 3 bank preset and manager. And now it's what's called preset and bank managing, because it applies to all our plugins. And this is from the introduction bank. You see how different it can sound. So it's really a very unique synthesizer. Okay, let's see what the chat room has to say. Okay, 1 second. I always like to have something that you can see on the right-hand side. Yeah, sure. BLADE 3 will be for next year, and how you say that? The moment it will arrive, it will be definitely after the summer. I think in the winter, because people don't some don't understand how much time it takes to develop. But for instance, Predator 3 took 1 year to develop as it is now. And so it's and BLADE 3 will be a very powerful synthesizer. We have some great ideas. People requested many times that they could load in their own samples, so we're looking into that. I like the string model, which is inside Sublime Bass 2, which is maybe very interesting if you have 6 oscillators and 6 string models combined. So yeah, we have some cool ideas for this synthesizer. Yes, okay. So DT production and i7 10.7K is good enough for Blade? Sure. I mean, this computer one I'm playing here is not my new one. This is still the older i7, which is from 2012, I think, or 2013. So it's already 9 years, almost 10 years old. It's a 4-core 3400. So the only changes I did is indeed put in SSD, other graphic card, and it's still, you see, I do the live streams and create music with it. It should be no problem at all. The biggest changes in terms of computers, that's not as in the past when you went from Pentium 3 to Pentium 4 or whatever. That were big changes, but now an i7, even an i5 is very powerful. And of course, I have now my new computer. I put things over. And my trick in this is I have always one folder which is called updates and install. Maybe a good tip for you. And inside this updates and install, I put all the installers and the information about the license in this updates and install. And even if there are maybe newer versions of a particular program, of course, twice to download. So, for instance, with Steinbach, I simply downloaded the latest version of Cubase 11. But by some other programs, I still have the most latest version in this folder, updates and install. And of course, I have a document in which I have all my passwords in case I need to log in to a page to download the latest version. But it's still a lot of work. So my E9 computer, which is 19-inch, is still, hopefully in January, everything will be available. And then I will stream from that one. So, yeah, there's many love for Bluetooth, and still, I mean, Bluetooth still, it's an amazing synthesizer. It simply does sound different again, and that's the cool thing about, I think, our brand, that we have so many different colors. I mean, the sounds which you will hear now in BLADE-2, impossible to create with our other plugins. They are so different, so other, like this one. Of course, sometimes you hear some equal things pop up. Good basses, you will find, of course, also this one. I'm not sure if I made here some bass banks. I don't think so, but okay. Of course, these type of sounds, string type, you could do this also very well with a Predator or BIT or a Vector or Quad. So there are some similarities in terms of what you can do in terms of sounds, but each of our synthesizer has its own unique character. Yeah, we have also different sound designers. We have this Sangini. It's some very good sounds, very good sequence sounds. Ratcheting. Bang from Audition, which are very different. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we had this. So it's very different. If I would go down to a Bluetooth, let's see if we can open Bluetooth, add track, instrument. So we are working already on the idea for Blue 3, but as it is, it will take some time. The first new release we will have is an update from RPverb2 with different user interfaces, the sizes of it, VST3 support, and the audio follower will be extended, so you can use also sidechain. That's very cool. So give me 1 second. Here's Bluetooth. Okay, here's Bluetooth. And yeah, Bluetooth has a very different character. This still uses the older way of doing the banks, because here a bank is 128 presets. So this is the FM synthesis. Yeah, how it's connected. It's a very different synth. Of course, we have the brilliant Koto from Jamal, which I played a few times, which is so nice. brilliant sound. The Koto. Okay, let me see. Yeah, well, with BLADE-2 you have 6 oscillators which can be combined in a subtractive way. You can do this FM synthesis, so it combines essentially 3 things together, which I always show with one preset, which is this Fifth Element Epic. That's the one. Fifth Element was originally a BLADE-1 preset, which sounded like this. Now it used the chord mode. Oh no, not a chord. It has the tuning here. It has a fifth tuning. Sorry for that. So if I go here to the algorithm, well, this is the matrix. It means that oscillator A, B, C go out. If I shut down A and B, I hear D, E, and F, and E goes out to D, and E goes out to F. So F is FM modulation. So this is sinus waveform modulated by E and modulated by D. So this is the FM synthesis, and what we did with the original Blue is combine FM synthesis together with the cool things of subtractive. So oscillator A and B, now I shut down F, do more A, synth classic synth sound. This is a subtractive sound because A and B go out and they go out to filter A, which is a bandpass filter. So now inside this synthesizer, you combine 2 syntheses together. As if you would stack a DX7 together with a Jupiter. Yeah, and on top of that, we did a range of samples with BLADE-2. So now when I shut on C, it plays a choir sound, which is a multi-layer sample of a very nice choir. And now the choir comes in. And of course, the range of samples were picked to make synth sound. So you will not find a regular piano or a banjo. The really focus is on synth sounds. So BLADE-3 has really a combination of 3 different type of things. So for instance, this taiko deep fa is a phaser sound on a taiko combined with a this is the synth part, and the taiko is tuned. So it uses a real taiko sound, which is tuned, combined with sample. So that's the power of BLADE-2. Combining things together makes that this synth, of course, is a bit more complicated, just like BLADE-2, than, for instance, a BIT or a Predator 3. But yeah, I mean, if you want to have a particular sound, it comes with features. You need features for that. And I just played you this Fifth Element. And this one is a variation with a boil, with a metal boil. So if I play only the boil, you have this sound. It's a Dutch boil. Maybe I should, in the next live stream, I should show it. Because it's in my studio, this boil, which I sampled. So BLADE-2, you see, it's very different again compared to BLADE-2. Or, for instance, Predator 3. Okay, let's go back to the chat room. Okay, 1 second. Okay, let's see for looking for some answers. Rob, if you do not want to reinstall everything, make a clone of your current system drive. That could be possible with a clone, but maybe you need to reactivate it. Then you need to go log in, go to My Products, and then request again an activation code. That well could be. But essentially clone over, maybe it's not possible. I think even on a PC, maybe you don't have to activate again. We know on Mac, if you have the Mac and you have the Time Machine, sometimes people need to reactivate because for some reason the hard disk did change in some way. Alex Longard, Rob, do you use the Vios hardware synth? In the past I use it, but now it's not on my side here, but now I use it more as a controller because I can use then the envelopes. I can address that to the attack here, decay, sustain, and release. And then I have some dials under my fingers, and that makes me in programming much faster because now I need to move up my mouse, but if I have the envelopes, filter, so the main controls, a MIDI latch, and that helps a lot. Sound-wise, I don't use it anymore. But that's not because it's not a great sounding synth, but I'm also lazy. I mean, once I make music, everything goes into software because that, for me, works the most fast. And if I want to have a type of MS-20 sound, I know what to do, and I create such a sound just by editing one of the plugins. But that's just me in my workflow. Everybody has its own workflow, of course. Okay, let me see. Yeah, I closed down today a little bit earlier because I need to go out. Next week we have another live stream, last one before Christmas. So next Thursday, if you have an idea, I have one idea about doing psytrance sounds with BLADE-2. Maybe we do that next week or maybe early next year. The Anchor S for the Predator 3, that will be also next year because we have the holiday season coming up. We did send it in to Native Instruments to let them check it out. Maybe I showed it to you, I think, last week. Let me see if it's... I still have it open. No. But I know, of course, I will show that. But so that's it, work in progress. So early January, we will have new presets for Predator 3 and also Anchor S support if everything goes well. So anyhow, if you missed the live stream, you also can watch back, as mentioned. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. And by the way, it seems to be the case with YouTube. If you want to have an early notification, you need to click on this bell icon. Then you get more earlier the notification that I'm live or that there is a new video. So yeah, Tom, that will be cool. Next week, a Christmas song. That will be cool. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe and enjoy creating music. Bye.